Note: contains major spoilers for Game of Thrones. The Game of Thrones universe is a vast and complex one, but pay close attention and there are myriad nods and hints implying what lies ahead. Of course, anyone can have 20/20 hindsight. Here are 13 of the most significant clues and the events that followed. 1. Jon Snow's resurrection. HBO young Aly leads Jon Snow to his death in the Season 5 finale after the Night's Watch feel betrayed by their Lord Commander for allowing wildlings to cross the wall. It's a decision for which he pays a heavy price, stabbed multiple times by different men before Aly inflicts the final blow for the Watch. We weren't 100% sure he would return, but we should have paid more attention. During the King in the North trip to Hardhome, Aly was concerned about his then friend and whether he would return, but Samwell Tarly told him not to worry because he always comes back. Lo and behold, he did. 2. Ned Stark's death. Sean Bean's Ned Stark was taken from us far too soon, but the writing was on the wall from the very beginning. In the first episode's opening scenes, Ned, Jon, Robb, Theon and a handful of others find a dire wolf, the sigil of House Stark, dead in the woods after being killed by a stag, the sigil of House Baratheon. It's Joffrey Baratheon who has Ned killed, and although the young king was technically a Lannister, the son of incestuous union between Queen Cersei and her brother Jaime, he is assumed by the masses to be the son of King Robert. 3. Jaime Lannister's handlock. Roose Bolton's best hunter, lops off Jaime's hand after he is irked by his arrogance. From that moment onwards, Jaime is forced to learn to adapt to a new, humbler way of life that he previously sneered at when discussing Bran, who he pushed out of a window. Even if the boy lives, he'll be a cripple, he says to his brother Tyrion about Bran's injuries. Grotesque. Give me a good, clean death any day. Still feel that way, Jaime? 4. Walder Frey's by HBO. Walder Frey and his clan always had it coming, but the moment was so much sweeter than most of us probably expected. Some eagle-eyed viewers, however, will have been ready for it following the moment Bran started telling his creepy fireside tale about the rat cook to Hodor and the Reeds. The story is all about the Night Watch's cook who was so angry with the king, he killed the monarch's son, baked him into a pie and fed it to the king. As punishment, the cook was transformed into a giant rat who only wanted to eat his own young. The reason? He killed a guest beneath his roof and, according to Bran, that's something the gods can't forgive. Walder Frey orchestrated the Red Wedding and subsequently had his throat slit by Arya Stark, after eating his own sons in a big, piping hot pie. Not to be confused with hot pie. 5. Joffrey, Shae and Tywin's deaths. You don't have to watch Game of Thrones to know that the show enjoys bumping off vast numbers of characters, some of whom were not only key players but beloved by fans, making their untimely exits all the more shocking. But if you paid close attention, the snaky, slimy Peter Baelish, also known as a Littlefinger, preempted 3 of the most startling deaths during a conversation with Robb and Aaron. People die at their dinner tables. They die in their beds. They die squatting over their chamber pots. Joffrey was poisoned at his wedding feast, Tyrion strangled his lover Shae in her bed and shot his father, Tywin, with a crossbow while he was on the loo. And that, as they say, was that. 6. Theon's castration. One of GOT's most disturbing storylines is Ramsay Bolton's castration of Theon. But before Theon was subjected to it, he was already concerned about being treated like a fool and a eunuch. When Bran and Rickon escape his grasp and flee captivity, Theon is determined to get them back, fearing if he doesn't that he will be viewed as less than a man by the people around him. Ask yourself, is there anything I wouldn't do to stop that from happening? he says to Maester Luwin. It's better to be cruel than weak. His bleak future was staring us all in the face all along. 7. Arya's destiny. HBO. Who knew that the second youngest Stark was destined to become a deadly assassin? Well, you might, and it could well have been the Red Priestess, Melisandre, who planted that seed in your head. The pair meet when Melisandre comes across the Brotherhood without banners in the forest. She's looking for Gendry on the Lord of Light's orders, but Arya is not happy with that arrangement and challenges her. When Melisandre looks into her eyes, she says, "I see a darkness in you, and in that darkness eyes staring back at me. Brown eyes. Blue eyes. Green eyes. Eyes you'll shut forever." That could refer to several key elements. Arya becomes a faceless man, using numerous other faces to disguise herself and carry out her assassinations. The remark about different eye colors could also refer to that, as well as the different eye colors of the many people she killed along the way, shutting their eyes forever in death. 8. Marjorie's grisly end. HBO. It's safe to say that Marjorie Tyrell's life did not pan out as she had hoped, and there is a moment before she is blown to Kingdom Come which predicts that she is choosing a necklace for her wedding with Joffrey, but her grandmother, Olenna Tyrell, dismisses all of the options. Olenna says that Marjorie will inspire 1,000 songs and how sad it would be if she's wearing rubbish like that, gesturing to the jewelry. Marjorie's response, in hindsight, is especially eerie. "Perhaps I should just let Joffrey choose it for me, end up with a string of dead sparrow heads around my neck." It was the fundamentalist, religious leader and zealot, the High Sparrow, who ultimately caused not only Marjorie's downfall but his own after Cersei blew up the Great Sept of Baelor and everyone in its vicinity. 9. The Lannisters seize power from the Baratheons. HBO. As we pointed out in the foreshadowing of Ned's death, the house sigils are extremely significant in terms of imagery and predicting what lies around the corner. During an exchange between Tywin and his son Jaime, the head of the Lannister clan is skinning and preparing a dead stag, the Baratheon sigil, you'll recall. Later down the line during the Battle of the Blackwater, the Lannisters, alongside the Goldcloaks and the Tyrells, defeat Stannis Baratheon's fleet. 10. Cersei's grand plan. Undermine Cersei at your peril. That was a lesson the High Sparrow and his minions eventually learned, as did Olenna Tyrell. During an encounter between the pair when Cersei suggests that she and Olenna join forces to defeat King's Landing's religious elite, Olenna rubbishes Cersei's proposal and hurls insults at her. "You have no support, not anymore," she says. "Your brother's gone. The High Sparrow saw to that. The rest of your family have abandoned you. The people despise you. You're surrounded by enemies. Thousands of them. You're going to kill them all by yourself?" She's a woman who never does anything by halves. 11. Daenerys's ability to withstand heat. You might not remember the moment when the Mother of Dragons sank into a scalding hot bath right at the beginning of the series, but she did, without seemingly feeling any pain whatsoever. Her handmaiden pointedly commented on how unbearably hot it was. Fast forward to Khal Drogo's funeral and she emerges from the pyre completely unscathed, walking through the flames. It was there all along. 12. The Red Wedding. During an exchange between Lord Varys and Tyrion, bells can be heard ringing in the background, to which Varys says, "I've